How do you design a world-class company like Amazon? In a recent interview on the Lex Fridman podcast, Jeff Bezos shared many nuggets of wisdom from his long career as a corporate executive. It was a 2-hour conversation, and they got into the weeds of rocket technology, zero gravity, and space travel infrastructure. But for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to highlight 3 themes from the conversation I found particularly fascinating: customer experience at Amazon, high-velocity decision-making, and building a truth-seeking culture. Okay, so let's unpack Jeff's thoughts on customer experience or customer obsession as one of the core and fundamental operating principles at Amazon. But before we go into the details of the conversation, let's look at some of the ways Amazon has raised the bar for the online shopping experience. 1995, Amazon added customer reviews on the theory that it would increase product trust and aid the customer's decision-making process when buying books online. 1999, Amazon introduces one-click buying on their website and sets a new standard for simplifying the checkout experience. 2000, Amazon.com incorporates personalized recommendations to help customers discover products that are relevant to their interests based on their browsing and shopping history. This was an early implementation of machine learning technology. So back to the show. What Mr. Bezos emphasizes is the importance of having goals that are stable over time as the umbrella framework for improving the customer experience. In the case of Amazon, those high-level experience drivers are competitive prices, quick delivery time, and a wide selection of products. These are the big fish that the company allocates 80% of its time, money, and energy that don't change or fluctuate over time. He also uses the metaphor of paper cuts, which are all the customer experience deficiencies. These are the low-hanging fruits that help incrementally improve the Amazon online shopping experience. He says, for example, with one-click buying, that was a feature that solved multiple paper cuts. What makes Amazon innovative is that not only was customer obsession a core operating principle from day one, but they also made long-term investments in specific areas of the customer experience that help define and differentiate their brand. To say the return on investment was impressive would be an understatement. Jeff has made the bold claim that Blue Origin is going to become the world's most decisive company. He understands very well that to be a high-performing organization, you have to not only make decisions quick, but you also have to make high-quality decisions. This is one of the key teachings of Peter Drucker's book, The Executive, which came out many decades ago. So what are some of the mechanisms to help your team improve its decision-making capabilities, according to Jeff Bezos? Let's talk about the one-way versus two-way door metaphor, which is a very fascinating concept. One-way doors are those decisions that are so consequential, so important, and so hard to reverse that those decisions have to be made very deliberately and very carefully. If there are different ways to analyze that decision, Jeff argues, you should slow down and do that. Those are one-way door decisions. Two-way door decisions are basically those you can walk away from if you make the wrong decision. Two-way door decisions should be made by single individuals or small teams deep in an organization. In contrast, one-way door decisions should be elevated to the senior-most executives for additional scrutiny. Jeff's observation is that what tends to happen in larger companies is that there is a one-size-fits-all approach where you end up using a heavyweight process on even small impact decisions. This is inevitably what slows down organizations. The key challenge for a company is developing the skill as an organization to know the difference between one-way versus two-way doors as a first step towards accelerating decision-making. One final point in the topic of decision-making. Jeff also stresses the importance for a CEO or any senior leader in a company to be able to disagree and commit. He reflects on his time at Amazon, where as a CEO, there would be times where his direct reports would feel very strong about solving a problem in a particular way. And they would go back and forth until Jeff would finally pull the trigger and tell them, you know what, let's do it your way. Not from a place of compromise, but from a place of trusting the judgment of his senior managers as they are closer to the ground truth. Also acknowledging that he's not sure he's right either, since a lot of these decisions can be very complicated and nuanced. The important thing here that he emphasizes is that disagreeing and committing meant that as a CEO, now he had the responsibility to try actively to help make sure it works. This is the hallmark of good leadership. So if we can agree that making high-quality decisions with speed is the recipe for a high-performing organization, what underlying culture would enable this? According to Jeff, is it important to create an environment that prioritizes truth-telling and truth-seeking? Jeff acknowledges that this goes against human nature. We are social creatures who would prefer to fit in, go along with the group, and mesh well with the people we work with. No one wants to be the person in a meeting that tells another person, I think you're wrong, I think your data may be flawed, or I don't think you have the right information. But if we don't engage in these difficult and sometimes awkward conversations, do we really have a chance to make high-quality decisions with speed? Jeff actually has a story that illustrates this exact point.
And so one day we're in a meeting or going through the WBR and the weekly business review, and we get to this metric in the deck, and the guy who leads customer service is to fit in the metric, and I said, okay, let's call. And I picked up the phone and I dialed the 1-800 number and called customer service, and we just waited in silence
What did it turn out to be? Like
it was really long, more than 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was many minutes. And so, it dramatically made the point that something was wrong with the data collection.
The moral of the story here is essentially that had Jeff not made the phone call to the customer service, he would be misguided by his head of customer service, who in turn was misguided by the metrics he was delivering, which in fact were misguided by the data collection methods that he had in place. While nobody likes to be told they're wrong, what was at stake here was the perception of the Amazon brand. It was crucial that they get to the bottom of this to diagnose the problem accurately and put forth a solution that came from a place of truth. Finally, Jeff is famous for instituting the no PowerPoints rule for all the meetings with his senior-most executives. Instead, they have to draft a 6-page report, and as a ritual in every meeting, they spend the first 20 minutes reading and reviewing this report. Jeff's observation is that it is easy to fluff up a PowerPoint with catchy bullet points and rich visuals. A 6-page written document strips away all of that and forces the presenter to think clearly and methodically about the contents of his presentation. This benefits the organization in 3 ways. It elevates people's level of thinking around problem solving and solutioning by writing down their thought process in detail. Enriches the quality of the meetings to ensure alignment, understanding, and thought process from the beginning. Saves time by avoiding back and forth questions that serve to clarify versus questions that build on top of the rationale and thought process that is already provided in the document. I hope you found this video useful, and if you haven't already, invest 2 hours of your time to learn from one of the most brilliant company executives in the 21st century. A truly excellent episode from the Lex Fridman podcast.